Hey, Matt, anything new on the Omicron front for you?
Yeah, Mark. Unfortunately, we've got at least three or four more cases, I believe, and we will release those names later this afternoon.
Thanks.
Steve McGargy.
Wondering, how do you think you've kind of evolved as a head coach since that first year, particularly with the hurdles you had to overcome going into 2021? Just and just what were the biggest ways and kind of you changed, developed after that first year?
Well, I think that's a pretty complex answer, Steve, in terms of just there's been so many different ways. I think number one, just the trust that you have with everybody that you're working with, whether it's our coaching staff or our players, and trying not to micromanage people and let them do their jobs and let them go out there and the players, for example, let them go out there and play freely. And I think that's just something that develops over time. The longer you're with people, the more you learn people, and you see them consistently come to work with the right mindset, the right mentality, and do things the right way, then naturally that occurs. But certainly we're very, very fortunate that we have a very cohesive group here that cares a lot about each other, whether it's the coaching staff or the players, and all how that all intertwines. And so I think that is something that has just gotten better over time.
Bill Huber.
Hey, man, on the COVID front, I don't want to say you just throw your arms up in the air and say whatever, but is it almost that level though? Because it is kind of the way we are as a society, where there's a vaccinated or not vaccinated, it's just kind of running rampant, and it's kind of out of your control to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly you're trying to take every step to mitigate the risks especially within your building, and we're definitely going to look at how we can do that around here, just making sure that we mask up as a team when we're inside, and then try to keep people as spread out as possible. We've even contemplating potentially, if we get more of these, maybe going to a virtual meetings and then just showing up when we want to get together to go out on the field. So we'll look at everything, because we do know that the availability thing is real. When you have your players available, that I think we're a pretty darn good football team, and we need to try to keep as many people available as possible.
Ryan Wood.
Matt, is there any decision on whether David Bakhtiari will practice this week?
I'd say that we've discussed that, but nothing's been, decided up to this point.
Mike Spofford.
Hey, Matt, you mentioned the other night the defense obviously had a rough tackling performance. After reviewing it, have you been able to zero in on, exactly why? And this late in the season, what's your approach when something like that happens?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely evaluated everything, and we've got a lot of reasons as to why it wasn't good enough. You got to give Cleveland a lot of credit as well. They had a good scheme, and they've got good players, and they did a good job of going out there and executing. I don't think we took on some of the blocks maybe as best as we have in the past. They did a good job with some of the gap schemes they were running, some of the what we call a bounce scheme, where they were pulling some linemen and really attacking our edges and creating space for their runners. And and then when you got guys like Chubb that are able to read blocks very effectively, and he's got great vision, great balance, and he's a powerful guy that can make people miss, and can run through tackles. And when you're not perfect, you get exposed. So, we'll have our work cut out for us against the Vikings, because they're very similar. I mean, they got multiple backs that are really, really talented, and they're pretty good up front. So I'm sure it's going to be a big week of work for us to get all that corrected so it doesn't happen again.
Rob Domofsky.
Can Jones come out of the game okay, or might he have to miss some time because he limped off there near the end?
I believe he will be okay, but again, we'll just see how he works through everything over the next 2 days.
Mike Clemens.
Matt, I wanted to about an offensive line. Can you give us any updated information on Billy Turner, and also you think Josh Myers, is there a chance he could still come off of IR?
Yeah, I think Josh, there's a chance. Billy's another guy too that's working through everything. But as far as this week, we'll just see where we're at come Wednesday and Thursday and Friday as we work through our week of practice.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Matt, following up on Bill's question, we've gotten to know you over 3 years. You're awfully even-keeled most of the time, and you control what you can control. But when something like this is going on, do you have a moment where you slam the desk and then say, okay, back to work? Do you let it frustrate you, or are you able to kind of move past it with the COVID stuff?
Yeah, I think we all get frustrated at times, but I'm not one to slam a whole bunch of things, Jason. I'm not pounding on my desk or anything like that. It's just one of those things. It's no different than how you look at injuries. Yeah, they're unfortunate. Yeah, it can be frustrating, but it is what it is, and you've got to try to find a way to move on and navigate around it, and really put your time, energy, and effort into the things that you can control.
Bill Huber.
Matt, I believe the deadline is Wednesday on Jair to activate him. Is that the plan?
We'll see on Wednesday. We'll see when we get there.
Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt, before I ask the question, I just wanted to clarify. So do you have the guys in today, or are you having them stay away for the week or till Wednesday?
Yeah, so initially we were going to bring them in today. Just everything that's transpired, I would say, in the last 48 hours, we're keeping them at home, at least for the meeting portion. Some of the guys came in and got their flush workout in, but yeah, as far as the meetings are concerned, all of that will be done virtually.
Okay, and so through this season, you guys have won some very close games. You see teams around the NFL, good teams, dropping games that could, easily have happened to you, but you've been able to win them. Aside from winning games, your win-loss record, what kind of metrics do you have for how you're playing, for how you're performing as a team, and whether you're ready for this stretch run and into the playoffs?
Well, the one thing that is great is that we do find ways to win some tight games, and we haven't won them all, but we've made plays when we've absolutely had to, and just like what happened the other night with Rasul's INT. So, that's the bottom line in this league. I think as we get closer to the end of this thing, I think these games get tighter and tighter and tighter, and that's typically how it goes in the playoffs as well. And when you win a bunch of games in a variety of different ways, or just find ways to come out on top, I do think that helps build that resilient mindset that, hey, just keep plugging, we'll find a way to pull this sucker out. Certainly would we like to blow everybody out? Absolutely, but that's just not typical life in the National Football League. And, are we disappointed when we don't take advantage of certain situations? Absolutely. I think, like, when you look at this last game, when you look at the turnover differential, you think, hey, you should really have the game in hand and finish an opponent. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get that done. But like we talked about earlier, we did find a way to win the game. So you'd much rather learn from your mistakes when you're winning as opposed to, have them cost you. And we'll continue to grind and scratch and claw and try to find ways to get better and better. Do I think we're playing our best football? At times, yeah. But then it's got to be more consistent, really in all three phases, just the whole collective effort. I do like the effort that our guys are playing with. I think the approach to the game has been outstanding. I think just the energy they bring on a daily basis has been outstanding, and we just got to find ways to, hopefully bring it all together, all three phases, and capitalize when we have those opportunities.
Brian Wood.
Matt, you guys are in really good position again for the conference's top overall seed. And I know that other things come with that, like the bye. But I'm curious how you view home field advantage, especially with how last year went. Do you view it any differently in terms of significance, importance with how last year went?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now there's a lot of ball left in front of us. And if we look any further than the Minnesota Vikings, a team that has beaten us the last two times we've played them, then we're not focused on the right things. But as far as the home field's concerned, I do think it's going to be a tremendous advantage. You're talking about a year that's totally different with packed stadiums. So, I don't know what our attendance was for our playoff games last season, but it certainly is more impactful. And I thought our crowd did an outstanding job the other night of being loud and really supporting our team, and that brings a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy, and that I think it definitely translates to success on the field.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, Eric Stokes has obviously had a really promising season for you as a rookie, but do you need to get after him a little bit about something you've brought up unprompted in the past regarding playing off so soft on 3rd and long? There's one play, obviously, in particular in the Cleveland game where it's 3rd and 16, and it almost seems like they're directly going after him because he's playing so far off. Is that something you need to maybe focus on for the rookie a little bit?
Are you talking about the one they converted there, Aaron? Or
Yeah.
is it the one
they got 17 on the 3rd and 16.
Yeah, that really wasn't. That was not on him. I mean, we were in a basically a double coverage situation, and he was funneling it to his help, and so. But we can get into that one later. Absolutely, I think every situation's a little bit different in regards to how off do we want to be, and we're constantly talking to these guys in regards to where they should be in certain situations. So we'll continue to work and get better at that. All in all, our 3rd down defense is not where it needs to be. I think they were over 50% this last game, and that's not going to get it done. So we've got to get better in that regard.
Mark Daniels.
Matt, you mentioned, the Vikings are a tough matchup. I think you're 11-0 against the Bears and the Lions and 3-2 against Minnesota. What is it about how they play and match up with you that makes it the most difficult division rival?
Well, I think they're a very talented team. I think you look at just what they have offensively. They've got weapons all across the board, starting with Kirk Cousins. I think he's played at an extremely high level, just like he has for most of his career. I think you got multiple backs that are as good as it gets in this league, and when you got receivers like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, I feel like they're a very complete offense. I think their O-line has gotten better over the course of the last couple of years of being in this division. They've done a nice job drafting. I think then defensively, anytime you're going against a Mike Zimmer defense with the experience that he has, especially you got guys like Harrison Smith and Patrick Peterson and the two Kendricks and Barr at linebacker, they do a great job. They know the scheme inside and out, and they do a great job of switching up their looks against us. And I've got so much respect for Zimmer as not only as a head coach, but as a defensive mind. I think he's one of the best in the business. So, and then special teams, they've made their mark there as well. So I just think all in all, it's a very well-rounded team, a team that's unfortunately for them has lost a lot of tight ball games, and it seems like every one of their games goes down to the last possession of the game, and for them, unfortunately for them this year, they've not come out on top of all those. So it's fortunate for us. But last time they played us, I mean, shoot, our game came down right to the end as well, and they were able to beat us. So we know what's at stake. We know the type of practice we're going to have in order for us to go out there and play our best against one of the better, more talented teams in the NFC.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Matt, you mentioned the third down defense, and I know after the game you said you had mixed feelings, which it's weird to have 4 picks and 5 sacks and yet also have some concerns there. When you kind of take the 30,000-foot view of your defense, where do you kind of feel like you are after they were playing so well earlier in the year?
I just think we got to get back to playing everybody doing their 111th and not trying to make a play and press. I think a lot of times when we do that, we get ourselves out of position. We need all 11 functioning as one on every play. And if you don't, then it leads to inconsistencies. And when you're doing that against good teams, then you're going to give up a lot of plays. And there's certain things I know we can coach better, and there's certain things that I know that we can go out there and execute better. So hopefully, again, it starts with our work that we put in practice. We've got to improve in that regard, and then hopefully it'll translate to the field.
Chris Roth.
Hey, Matt, we'll find out who the guys are later, but do you think you're okay from a roster and practice squad standpoint to cover positions, or do you see having to bring in players to cover spots for guys with COVID?
Well, yeah, that's something that Goody and myself were talking about earlier today. We've got a plan for that. I know that we're going to bring in some guys and have some workouts, and for the areas of concern, we will bring in some guys. So I don't think you're ever truly okay unless you have everybody available, and that's when you feel good. But this thing is just, you never know. I'm always, every time I get a text from Flea, I'm always kind of holding my breath now. Is like, all right, who's next? So that's why we got to make sure that guys are trying to take every precaution that we can to make sure that we stay healthy, safe, and are available.
We'll do 2 more. Bill Huber.
Hey, Matt, it's supposed to be damn cold on Sunday night. How does the game change now that you've been here for 3 years when it gets down to not 30 degrees, but, single digits? Does it change much at all?
Oh, absolutely, it does. And I think it all starts with our approach, our mindset of going into that game. It's great when we can get outside here and try to get acclimated to it as best we can. But I think our guys have the right mindset in that regard and embrace the cold. You have to up here, and it's to our own advantage.
And last one, Mike Clemens.
How do you think special teams did on your tape Saturday against the Browns?
Yeah, I was really happy with our special teams. I thought they did an outstanding job. Is it perfect? No, it's never perfect. But I thought, by and large, we did a really good job. I think the one return that got out to the 30-yard line, we need to be better in 2 specific areas. But for the most part, I thought guys were playing hard. I thought you're always looking at kind of your coverage lanes. How does it look? And there wasn't many holes there, so that was a positive. We had guys busting their butt, getting downfield. We had that one tackle on the 15-yard line. So I thought, led by Mo, I thought we made some really good adjustments within the game, and our players were able to go out there and execute.